What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Smooth Plays podcast. I'm Austin, aka Austin Plays, joined by Dean, aka Mr. Smooth. All right. And then we're here. We're just gonna hit you with our recap episode of these week 5 matchups, starting it off Thursday night. Dean, Bucks and Falcons. Kick us off, man.
Oh man, this was a fun game to watch on Thursday night. A high scoring, affair on Thursday night football doesn't happen often. So credit to both these teams for at least putting up points. But Baker Mayfield was efficient in this one. I mean, the Bucks had 30 points in this game. People are going to look at the Bucky Irving fumble at the end, try to blame it on him, but this loss for the Bucks falls on one thing, and it's their pass defense. Kirk Cousins had 509 yards, and I know he had
Yeah.
58 attempts, so that's a lot of pass attempts, but
Eh,
500 yards doesn't happen a lot in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, two receivers between Drake London and Mooney had 100 yards, and then Kyle Pitts finally getting involved, 7 catches, 88 yards. I mean, yeah, the passing game was just unstoppable. I know the Bucks were missing Antoine Winfield, who's one of the best safeties in the league. So I think that definitely shot us in the foot a little bit. But I mean, yeah, this game hurt as a Bucks fan because the Bucks are winning this one 99% of the game. Koo comes out and drills a 50 plus yarder to send it into OT, and then we lose a coin toss, and essentially and that's the game at that point. You can argue if Baker gets the ball, does Baker could go down there, score a touchdown, and then you could be saying the same thing for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think the NFL does need, I mean, this is just me as a fan saying this, but I think that they should look into, I get why the overtime rule is different in the playoffs, but I just don't like having two separate rules for regular season and playoffs. I think it should be one rule. This is the rule. Pick whatever one you want.
Yeah. I will say this at Atlanta. I mean, we talk about how Atlanta needs to get their big time guys involved, right? And we saw it. Drake London, 12 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown. And then Kyle Pitts, like I said, 7 for 80. Those guys finally getting involved in the pass game. And I mean, I don't know what Atlanta's done to Kirk Cousins to where now he just shows up in primetime games, but I'm glad that it's happening. This is the offense in Atlanta we thought we'd see at the start of the year. I just hate that it had to come against my Bucks.
That's very fair to say.
All right. So I'm not worried though as a Bucks fan. I'm not worried. I know Baker's got us. We're chilling.
Bucks are a very good team. It's just a tough one.
Yeah. Tough pill to swallow there, week 5. Moving on. All right. We got our London game that we got to talk about. Before we do, one of the teams between the Jets and the Vikings that we have to talk about is the big first coach fired this year, Robert Saleh.
If you would have told me, before the season started that Saul would have been the first coach fired, I would have been like, come on. And the reality of the situation is he got fired.
I mean, yeah.
uh,
I mean, you look at
it's
right. You look at these coaches, right? I think he's been 3. This is his 4th year now in the league as a head coach, and I don't think he's produced a winning record in his time as a head coach with the Jets. I mean, they're 2-3, so who knows if they could have turned it around. But frankly, from an offensive standpoint, this team has just not been able to put it together whatsoever.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, like 23 targets in this game. So Aaron Rodgers is clearly only looking for one guy. And honestly, a lot of it was underneath. I think he had like 10 receptions for 79 yards at one point.
Yeah,
And I mean, they don't have anything over the top right now. And I don't know if the coach firing is going to change that. It's not like Saul is gone, so the Jets are now going to be this great offensive team.
yeah,
But you got to give credit to Brian Flores and this Vikings defense, man. Three
yeah.
interceptions on Aaron Rodgers is not easy to do.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's his age showing or if it is just this defense is that good, but I'm kind of leaning towards the defense is this good because we've seen this defense show up week in, week out. And this Minnesota Vikings team as a whole just looks like they're going to be a problem. Um, being one of the 2 undefeated teams in the NFL. Um, Sam Darnold finally had a game where he looked human and only, sub 50% completion, 180 yards and a pick to no touchdowns. But the big thing that I took away was Aaron Jones going down and not seeing the field in the second half. I think we kind of realized how important Aaron Jones is to this offense because he like the Vikings offense looked completely different from the first half when he was in to the second half when he wasn't.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves for them. And I mean, yeah, like you said, Aaron Jones might be, the secret key to this offense because when he came out, he was averaging, 4 yards a carry. He had 7 carries for 29 yards, so just north of four. And Ty Chandler had 14 for 30. And I know the Jets' D line and run defense is good, but you can't tell me Aaron Jones, if he's in that game, isn't at least having, what, 65 plus
Yeah.
yards?
He's being efficient at the very least.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So we'll see it. I don't foresee it being, a long-term injury. So I think it's
Well,
just kind of getting him off his feet. I didn't see the report on what it was. I don't know. Did you?
it said it was a hip, I believe, but they have a bye this week, so I think they were really just being, cautionary with him.
Better
Let him
safe
get
than sorry.
let him get the second half, let him get the bye, and then I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota looks good though, point blank. And I think, yeah, their defense is going to be able to keep them games even when the offense isn't producing as much as, they're used to doing.
Yeah, hey, Minnesota defense is for real. If people haven't realized that.
Yeah, they look good. Moving on. All right. Staying in the Sunday slate. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Bengals, which this was a shootout.
This was probably the most fun game of the NFL season to watch, to be honest. And there's a point where, as a Bengals fan, I mean, what more do you want Joe Burrow to do? I get he threw the late interception, and it was not a good interception. They didn't even honestly have to be even throwing the ball at that point in the game.
It doesn't
But
matter, man.
I mean, he had 392 yards and five
Yeah.
touchdowns. Jamar Chase had almost 200 yards, and the Bengals lose the game at home.
Yeah. I mean, this Bengals defense is horrible. And I don't know, man. I don't know what needs to change on the defensive side of the ball if they even can change. But ultimately, I think that you look at Joe Burrow's stats, take away that week one game, and Joe Burrow's looked great. Like he's efficient and he's putting numbers up. They're just not winning games. And it's not entirely on Joe Burrow in this offense. It's the defense just can't get stops.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I actually thought their game plan on defense was actually pretty good, at least for the opponent they were playing, because when you play the Ravens, you say we want to stop the run. And Derrick Henry had a 60-yard run in overtime that finished him at 92 yards. So he had, 30, 35 yards the whole game.
Yeah.
And this is a game in Lamar Jackson's career. I follow the Ravens closely because they're in the AFC North. This is
Hmm.
one of the first games where I've seen him really dominate a team through the air. And if he can consistently do that, the Ravens are really scared.
Yeah. I mean, he had 350 and four touchdowns and no picks. Like the dude, and he's he's got the ability to run. So if he can consistently pair that, again, I know the Bengals defense is terrible, but if he can consistently, if anything, he proved that you can't just, stack the box and
Yeah.
make him throw because he will hurt you.
Yeah. Credit to him, man. The Ravens, after an 0-2 start, they're right on the doorstep, tied for first in the AFC North.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, that I think that AFC North battle, because I'm not counting Cincinnati out either. I think Cincinnati, is going to be all right. They'll bounce back. I think this AFC North battle for the division come the end of the year is going to be something exciting to watch.
I agree. I'm excited to watch it, man.
All right. Moving on, we got the Colts and the Jags. All right. And Trevor Lawrence, we were dogging on him. Trevor Lawrence had a really good game, point blank.
No, he did. This was another game in the NFL this week that both quarterbacks had over 350 yards, just like, I mean, I think Lamar had like 348, but, it's just we haven't seen high scoring games like this in the NFL yet. This, at least not this season. It's been a little bit more low scoring.
Yeah,
But credit to Jacksonville, man. They after the 0-4 start, they come out at
finally,
home.
finally getting a win on
They
the board, getting it out of the way.
Finally, their offense. Honestly, it's fine. Finally, their offense got going. I think
Yeah.
that because that was the thing that was confusing me. I was like, they have talent on offense. Is Trevor Lawrence a problem? And he has a good week, and at least shuts me up for another week.
Yeah, Brian Thomas looked really good. Brian Thomas, these LSU rookies, LSU receivers just come out and produce. Um,
They're
a big thing to note, though, I mean, ETN only 6 carries for 17 yards, and then Tank Bigsby is leading this backfield, I think, for the last 2 weeks now.
That is Tank Bigsby's backfield right now. If you don't have Tank Bigsby is on the waiver wire in your fantasy league, pick that man up because he is explosive.
Yeah. And then one thing I will say about the Colts, I'm gonna go out and throw it out. Joe Flacco's elite, man. I mean, Joe Flacco had 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Like the man, it doesn't matter what team he's on. He's going to go out there no matter what team, what age. Like he's a baller, like point blank.
Yeah, I mean, man, Joe Flacco, I think he's 38 or 39 now, and they just call him up, plays good against the Steelers, and then comes out and throws for 350 yards against the Jags, and the Colts almost win. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the Colts, if you're a Colts receiver, you're happy, right? Because
they're look at his
I mean,
stats.
you're
Look at his
getting, yeah, you're
column.
getting looks, you're getting opportunities, and that's really all you could ask for as a receiver in the NFL. But definitely one that hurts if you're a Colts fan to lose. That's a game you feel you should have walked away with a win. Moving on, the Dolphins and the Pats. What do you got on this one? I know I didn't really watch this one. I know you didn't watch a whole lot, but from what you did see, what do you got for us?
uh, the bright spot for Miami on offense, as long as Tua is out. If I mean, who knows what's going on with that because
He might not even come back. Who knows? But
their run game was good, and it should be good.
because they have talent in that backfield, and I know
Mhm.
Achan went out, so that's a note. But Mostert and Jalen Wright from Tennessee, I remember watching him at Tennessee. He's explosive, man.
Yeah.
And if they can get that run game going, that'll help Tyler Huntley so much.
Yeah, I think getting Huntley into situations where he doesn't have to throw is going to be big for this team moving forward. They did end up getting a win in this one, big part to their run game. I mean, as long as Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are on the field, right, you have to respect the deep ball, no matter who's at quarterback. So it's going to open up lanes for the run game. And then looking at New England, what do you think about New England, man?
I mean, New England's just that team in the NFL where
Like nothing's flashy. It's always an ugly game when they play. It's, I mean, they were what I think it was Jalen Polk who caught the touchdown. I might be wrong, but or the non-touchdown that got overruled. But they were one heel away from winning this game, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's tough to swallow, but that's what the NFL is.
Well, big story for the Patriots moving forward is Drake May, their high draft pick, is officially getting the starting job next week. So we'll see if the quarterback change is what this team needs to finally get going, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Because honestly, their defense is all right.
yeah, I can guarantee that next week we will talk about the Patriots more because Drake May is fine.
All right. Hey, that's a bold statement right there. Early guarantee from Dean Gabrielsick.
I don't guarantee a lot of things, but I told you once he's starting, I'll pay a little bit more attention to the Patriots.
Speaking of quarterback changes, Cleveland Browns and the Washington Commanders. I mean, at what point do you just give Jameis the keys and at least throw him out there for a couple games to see what happens and maybe spark this locker room? Because if anybody in the NFL can spark a locker room, I think Jameis can do it. He's not the most conventional leader, for sure. But he knows how to get a team going.
Yeah, he's definitely not the most conventional leader at all. But I mean, I feel like the Browns just need a spark, and I feel like Jameis Winston could be that spark because whatever for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just being in his presence, guys follow Jameis Winston. Like guys follow him, man. And he's electric. He's funny. He's very funny. We all know that.
He's the most
Uh,
unintentionally funny person
yeah,
in the
he's not trying.
NFL.
He just does what he does, and I don't know how soon or how short Deshaun Watson's leash will be because of his contract, obviously. But
Hmm.
there's if you Cleveland, you're 1-4. We're only 5 games into the season, but
There's got to be a talk for we got to turn this thing around
Yeah.
because clearly it's not working right now.
I think something has to change, and I think the quarterback might be the spot where you just start there because he hasn't done anything crazy, and I don't know. I think the coaching staff is kind of getting fed up with it too.
No, there was a time, and did you see the end of
Yeah,
the first
that's
half?
what I'm
Kind of,
referring
yeah.
to, where Watson just started walking off the field in a time where they couldn't
right.
burn a timeout and a fourth down situation where they would have liked to convert and they couldn't burn a timeout and had to punt it away. So,
I will say, apparently there was 12 men in the huddle,
mhm.
and Watson just
I guess was fed up and
Yeah.
they didn't want to call another
They're not
timeout,
on
so
the
they just
same
took.
page is the bottom line.
Yeah, they're not.
All right.
And
And then, but
who
if
is on
we
the
look at
same
the other
page?
side, if we look at the Commanders, could we see a rookie MVP this year?
it would be a story. But the way he's playing right now, I can't say no.
I mean, Jaden Daniels is just that guy right now in the NFL. I think he's the front runner for MVP. And this Washington team, this is a Washington defense that nobody believes in except for the Washington Commanders because they put up what I think it was 13 and 14 or something, 13 and 10 or something like that in the last 2 weeks. Like this defense, I think, is fired up, and the entire locker room is just rallying behind Jaden Daniels and this offense.
It seems so easy, right? You start winning games, and guys start following.
Following, their leader, right?
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is leading this team on both sides of the ball. I know it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but he's sparked this team.
It's crazy. We talk about these two teams, and they're literally complete opposites. One team needs but might need a quarterback change to spark the locker room. The other one, and the entire locker room is fired up and believing because of their quarterback. So,
Yeah,
tale of two teams right there. Moving into Buffalo and Houston. All right. This is the second week in a row that we've seen Josh Allen kind of struggle. Only 9 for 30.
yeah. I mean, he wasn't without Shakur. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Shakir,
their wide
Shakir.
receiver one.
And
But 9 for 30, especially if you have the talent that Josh Allen has, that should be unacceptable. Nine
I
for
mean,
30 is bad.
yeah, I think a big thing is, I mean, if you look at the talent he has, though, I mean, Keon Coleman, 1 for 5, Kincaid 2 for 6, Hollins 2 for 6. Like, I mean, he he doesn't have a bona fide like number one guy, and quite frankly, just not a lot of separation on a lot of these routes. So he's forced to fit into tight windows. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they might need to look at getting another guy in that wide receiver room. I don't know.
Uh, Potentially, but I do think that they have played two very good teams the last 2 weeks,
they've both been on the road.
and then this week their wide receiver one was out. I mean, that's
Yeah.
tough for any team, and they only
Yeah.
lost this game by 3 points, even though their clock management was dreadful down the stretch. But
Yeah. I mean, credit to Houston. CJ Stroud looked good. Cam Akers. I think that we see Joe Mixon come back, but Cam Akers stepped in and filled that spot very well these last couple weeks. Uh, we'll see what happens with Nico Collins going down. I mean, he's the number one receiver in the NFL. So losing him, if that's going to be detrimental or not to this Houston offense. But I mean, they still got Diggs, and then Della's kind of took a step back with Diggs coming in, and we saw what he did last year. So he should be just fine stepping right back into that wide receiver 2 role uh, with CJ Stroud. But who knows?
him and Tank, they got that connection, man. Those guys
Yeah,
like each other a lot.
CJ likes Tank Dell point blank. Like
Yeah.
I think that they'll be fine. Moving on, Carolina and the Bears. The Bears.
Hey, the Bears is right. 3-2 now, Chicago. And finally, Caleb Williams breakout game.
Yeah.
No,
It comes against Carolina, so
you might as well say, we don't count this one,
Right.
but the
But
stats are there, and
if he
you got to
can,
count it.
if he can use this as momentum moving forward the rest of the year, like look out. They finally get DJ Moore involved. I said this last week. You got to get him involved. He was your entire offense last year. He hasn't been involved for some reason. You get him involved, look what happens. Also, the run game. He's got a run game supporting DeAndre Swift. The second week in a row, he's been productive on the ground, helping him out. These rookie quarterbacks, they need some sort of run game to help them at least get their feet wet in the NFL.
yeah, that's just plain and simple. That's how it is. We both said after the Colts game that they lost. If they want any success with this offense, they're going to at least
Have to have some sort of a run game because it was
And,
non-existent early on. But Swift's been playing better.
and then on the other side of the ball, I mean, look at Carolina. We don't talk much about Carolina just because there's not a whole lot to talk about. But Bryce Young got some action again. I think that was more so just throwing him out there. Game's already over. Just let him get some reps, maybe get some confidence back. Who knows? The lone bright spot for this Carolina team was Chuba Hubbard, who had a good game. But other than that, not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, hey, man, you never know. Bryce Young went out there, made a nice throw. I know his confidence is at an all-time low, but maybe that brought it up a little bit, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Moving on, the Raiders and the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos, man, they were my pick, my sleeper to make the wild card this year, and they're 3-2.
Yeah, Denver has looked after the first 2 weeks, man. Denver's 3-0 in the last 3 weeks, and they've looked great. Uh, this was another convincing win. That's two of their three wins have been convincing. I mean, they dominated Tampa. They pretty much dominate the Raiders. The Raiders went up early, but Sean Payton's got that defense playing, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you look at Bo Nix, right? The defense is so good that as long as Bo Nix doesn't turn the ball over, like they're going to be in football games and have a chance to win. And then on the other side of the ball, you look at the Raiders. I mean, Devontae Adams is the big news. He's requesting a trade per I think yesterday or this morning. So, I mean, where do you think he's going to go?
Uh, I think the easy pick is New York because of the Rodgers connection. I will say a sneaky pick is New Orleans because he loves Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think he'll want to play for a contender, and
Mhm.
New Orleans is not that right now, which is why bring him to Pittsburgh. Bring him to Pittsburgh, baby.
No, I actually agree with you. I know you're a homer, but I do actually agree. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a great spot for him to go out there and compete for a championship. And then just give Justin Fields another weapon. So we'll talk more about that whenever we get to the Steelers. Moving on, though, we're going to get to the Cardinals and the Niners, which this was just a great game to watch. Like, quite frankly, both teams were competitive. No, neither team was perfect, but just a great game to watch. I mean, literally comes down to the wire, and we were talking about how we don't see the Niners lose at home, and then the following week they go out and lose at home.
Yeah, credit to Arizona. I think this is what we kind of expected them to be, like a sneaky.
Good team this year. And the last couple weeks, they haven't looked that way,
Yeah,
which is why they were big time underdogs in this game. And they come out and
It doesn't matter how you do it, and they came out and win the game in San Francisco, which is not easy.
yeah. I mean, yeah, in San Francisco, I think a big thing for them is I think the injury to Christian McCaffrey is hurting this team. There was a
Oh,
couple
for
times,
sure.
not to discredit Jordan Mason. I think Jordan Mason has done an exceptional job stepping um, in a spot where, he wasn't expected to. But there is a couple of runs that I'm watching this game and I'm thinking to myself, Jordan Mason's breaking a 30-yard run, 20-yard run, whatever. And I'm thinking just like, if that's McCaffrey, McCaffrey's probably taking that one to the house.
Yeah, he's hurting a lot more than people think because after, the Jets game too, because that was on prime time, they saw Jordan Mason dominate and they're like, Niners are good enough to where they don't even necessarily need McCaffrey. They'll be fine. Well, they're 2-3 now without their best player.
Yeah. I mean, and argue if they got McCaffrey in that one, like you said, if he breaks that 30-yard run into a 70-yard touchdown, I mean, that's the difference in the game against Arizona. But credit to Arizona. They went out, tough game on the road and got the job done. I like Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be a sneaky team potentially as the season winds down. Moving into Green Bay and the Rams. I mean, Green Bay, gritty win. But I will say this is a game I don't think should have been as close as it was.
Yeah, the Packers are, especially now with the Rams injuries, this game should not have been as close as it was because the Rams actually had a chance to win this game on the final drive.
The Packers
Yeah.
just ended up getting a stop. I do think Jordan Love is still working his way back a little bit from his injury. He had a bad interception in his own territory.
Which, you think about after the game. But if you're Green Bay, you didn't play that well, and you still went on the road across the country and won the game.
Yeah, I think looking at this one, I mean, the Rams, you got to just look at the Rams and be like, if they got Cooper Kupp or even with just one of them, Cooper Kupp or Nakua, they have a chance to win this game because, I mean, they had a chance without him. So
Yeah.
if they do, I think there's a good chance they end up with a W in this one. Unfortunately, they're just so ridden with injury right now, at least on the offensive side of the ball. It's hard to say that they're going to be a favorite to win any game without them. And then, I mean, the Packers defense is good. I'm not going to lie. Like, I mean, they got 2 wins with Malik Willis in there who, isn't, a typical NFL quarterback, but this defense can keep the Green Bay Packers in games. And with Jordan Love, I think, they got good chances to win these close games down the stretch.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off your note on the Green Bay defense, I think Xavier McKinney has 5 interceptions already this year.
Through first 5 weeks, he's the only person in the NFL with an interception in each game. So, you think he's going to do a week 6?
I don't know, but I wonder what the odds are on that.
All right, moving on. The Giants in Seattle. All right, so I mean, quite frankly, we dog on Danny Dimes at times, but I mean, Danny Dimes looked great. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say he looked great against a team that's been stellar against the pass this year in the Seattle Seahawks.
I don't think you're saying it lightly at all. I agree. I think he looked very good in this game. And one thing that we talked about a little bit about the Giants is we want to see them
vertically move the ball down the field. And because Wandale and Malik Neighbors had multiple, double-digit receptions, and I think Wandale had 79 yards on 10 catches or whatever. But the Giants,
Danny Dimes moved the ball down the field vertically without his best weapon,
which is
crazy against a very good pass defense, like you said.
Yeah, not having Malik Neighbors in this one, I would have not even thought about taking the Giants.
Darius Slayton,
but
baby.
Darius Slayton stepped up into that role. We'll see down the stretch if he can kind of fill into that, number 2 role and be a nice complement piece to Neighbors whenever Neighbors gets healthy. Who knows? Also, Tyron Tracy had 130 yards on 18 carries on the ground. But, I mean, not to discredit him, the Seattle defense is not the best against the run at all. And then on the other side, I mean, Geno had a great game as well. He got sacked 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, credit to New York, man. I'm surprised that Kenneth Walker only had 5 carries in this game.
Yeah.
Did he get injured or anything? Or
I didn't see anything about him getting injured. So I think, it was just a case of, I honestly couldn't tell you. Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that you got to get involved, especially in Seattle. He's one of your top weapons. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe they saw something on the scouting report. I mean, they only ran the ball 11 times as a team, and Geno had 4 of them.
Yeah, so 7 rushing attempts from your running backs and 40 passes.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was something they saw in the scouting report or what, but great win for the Giants, point blank.
Yeah, great play at the end of that game, blocking that field goal too.
Yeah.
Credit to New York, man. Seattle's not an easy place to get a win at all.
No, not at all. And moving on to this Sunday night slate, man.
I want to hear what you have to say.
And the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Let's hear it.
I mean, To be fair, this game was delayed an hour and a half. So
Yeah, it
it
was a
was
weird
it
game.
was late on this one. I was struggling to stay up. But I mean, Justin Fields looked good. I mean, he was efficient. I'm not gonna say efficient, but he didn't turn the ball over. I don't know. I mean, the defense, I'm not gonna say this is the defense's fault because I mean they held Dallas, which is a pretty good offense, to 20 points, but I don't know. I guess they really just got to look at the Steelers offense and say, they didn't really have any big plays. And then that was kind of one
No,
of the
there,
things I
yeah,
talked about. I know the weather conditions probably played a factor, but I mean that's something I talked about. I think it was week 2. Is I just I think if you have zero big play ability, and in this case against Dallas they didn't have really any big plays. That's the difference.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I actually,
Disagree with you. I think this was Justin Fields' worst game as a Steeler, uh, which I'm not panicking about at all. I still
Mhm.
love the way he's played, and like you said, he didn't turn the ball over, which was good. But this was one of those weeks where I kind of felt like I was watching the old Steeler offense with Kenny Pickett because they weren't moving the ball like they have been so far this season.
Yeah.
When your leading receiver is Najee Harris and he only has 35 yards,
you're not going to win a lot of football games.
Yeah.
but my one takeaway from this game actually is on the other side in Dallas.
And I just want to give credit to Dak Prescott, man, because I know he had the 2 interceptions and CD was not happy with them after one of them, but he had 350 yards against probably a top 3 defense in the NFL. And he had one drive where they said, we got to go score a touchdown to win this game.
Go do it. And no matter what happened on that drive, they got the fourth down.
They had the fumble on the goal line, which was just an incredible play. But
Dak made the play on fourth down, man. You got to give him credit. And it's a really huge win for Dallas because
Yeah.
Washington is currently streaking away with the NFC East if they lose that game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think Washington is the clear-cut favorite if Dallas drops this one. I know Philly had a bye week, but I mean, I'm not panicking on the Steelers losing this one. I think, like you said, um, Justin Fields, you said this was the worst game he's played as a Steeler in a Steeler uniform. But I mean, again, that being said, like I said, it didn't really turn the ball over. It was just, like I said, I think the conditions played a bigger factor in this one than what the numbers show.
Yeah, the conditions were weird. And this was just, like you said, I remember telling you before this game, just a weird game, man. Like that Sunday night game that gets delayed, and then the Steelers, and it's going to be a good game. You know, it's going to be a good game, and I'm not worried about the Steelers at all. They drop a tough one to a solid team at home. It's just unfortunately had to be the Cowboys because I
Yeah,
hate
I would
losing to
say
the
never
Cowboys.
fun losing one to the Cowboys because you're gonna hear it from Dallas fans everywhere.
yeah, so it's all right. They'll respond.
And that wraps up our Sunday slate. Moving into the Monday game, all right, between the Chiefs and the Saints, who we touched on the Saints. I mean, since those first 2 weeks, this Saints team has not shown anything on like the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, this one was tough for me to watch at least because and I'm sure you too because we both had the Saints as our dog of the week and while there's upsets all over the NFL, the Saints honestly got
Nowhere to be found.
this game wasn't even close. The Chiefs
No.
pretty much dominated this game.
Yeah, I think this was a
Uh
game that what you could have called at the end of the first quarter.
yeah, seriously, like the Saints, I don't know what if they were just the first 2 weeks, they're not that team.
No.
They're not the
Yeah,
team
I'm
that
not I'm not gonna lie. I was all aboard the Saints hype train after those first 2 weeks. They fooled me. I mean, point blank. I should have known that when Derek Carr is the starting quarterback, that this team was not the team to believe in. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Chiefs. Juju Smith-Schuster and he a little resurgence game for him. I mean, I don't know how that makes you feel as a Steelers fan. I don't know your personal attachment to Juju, but in a game where they essentially all their receivers or top receivers are down, you got a rookie in Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs need someone to step up in that receiver room, and Juju did that. I mean, you got to give him credit.
Yeah, I have no harsh feelings for Juju, man. His TikTok dances were a little strange when he was in Pittsburgh, but I love him as a guy. I love him as a person. So I'm happy to see him go out there and, compete. And let's just keep it, let's be honest though, this Chiefs offense without Rasheed Rice is going to go through Travis Kelce.
Hmm.
And he had 9 catches in this game. And, really their unsung hero this game because, Mahomes is Mahomes was
Yeah,
Kareem Hunt.
yeah,
100 yards against a pretty solid New Orleans defense. He did 27 carries.
yeah.
This guy was
I was
signed
just
three
about to
weeks ago.
say, I was just about to say, yeah, they really leaned on the run game in this one, at least on Kareem Hunt with 27 carries, which is a crazy number and for anybody in the NFL. So, yeah, credit to the Chiefs going out there, handling business in Arrowhead. I mean, I'd argue Arrowhead is probably the toughest place to play on the road. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
it's
I would agree.
like it's no joke. So credit to the Chiefs. They're 5-0. I mean,
Shocker.
I mean, a little, is it a shocker? Because I mean, what at this rate, what do you think their chances are to three-peat?
Oh, no, I was being sarcastic, dude. This Chiefs team, no matter what, as long as number 15 is healthy and playing, they're gonna win at least 11, 12 games every year. Like it is,
He's that good.
Yeah.
He's that good. And their chance to three-peat,
I would say it's the same chance as I had,
As
early
every
in the
other year
season.
it is to win the Super Bowl.
yeah, because they always, especially with this Rice injury now, people are gonna, forget about him. Oh, Rice is out. They're not gonna be able to do it.
Which, real quick, sorry to cut you off, but if
No,
I
you're
don't know if
good.
you saw, he is out for the year. I know
Yeah,
it got reported today that Rashee Rice is out for the year. But
yeah.
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the Chiefs offense is, or not the Chiefs offense, the Chiefs team is, they're 5-0 right now in the AFC. If they get that 1 seed,
It's gonna be
almost, I don't want to say impossible because it's not, but to go into Arrowhead and beat them in the playoffs, that's going to be a
That's
very,
hard.
very tall task for
Only,
anyone.
I think, what is it? One, did Tom Brady ever beat him? Because I know Joe Burrow beat him in
yes.
Arrowhead.
He beat
Tom
him
Brady
one
is the
one
only
once.
other. So the GOAT, and then, Joe Burrow, who would just had a crazy run and hasn't done anything since in Arrowhead. Ever since they started calling it Burrowhead, hasn't he has no, had no success in there in that stadium.
Yeah, if as you know, I'm a Steeler fan. If I want any chance for the Chiefs not to win the AFC, we need,
The
Home
AFC as
field
a whole,
advantage.
we need someone else to get the 1 seed, please.
All right. Well, that wraps up our week 5 matchups. You got anything else that you want to add?
I got nothing, man. I'm looking forward to the next episode. That's what
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to.
So yeah, stay tuned. We'll look to put that out tomorrow. But with that all that said, right? We appreciate y'all stopping by. Make sure y'all leave a like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, right? Help our channel grow. And we appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see y'all in the next one.
Yes, sir.